we come together to seek God, trusting that God is seeking us with open arms. All are welcome here. No matter our doubts or questions, where we come from, or who we love, even in the chaotic seasons of life, we are loved by God. All are welcome here. We believe that everyone is a child of God. Every age, race, gender, identity, and creed. All are beautifully and colorfully made and of sacred worth. All are welcome here. We affirm that God is a good God who lifts the oppressed, loves the vulnerable, and is open to all. So we choose to have open hearts, open minds, and open doors to God and to each other. All are welcome here.
Hello and welcome to this gathering of Open. We're so glad to be joining with you today. You are welcome here. I'm Pastor Jonathan Perry, and this is Open today, coming from our homes and from Open to join with you in your home. It means so much to us right now to be able to connect in community with you in this way. If it's your first time here, we're so glad to be with you. We want to get to know you. You are welcome here. Say hello in the comments. Today, amidst everything from our homes and lives and stories, we come together to seek God, who even right now is seeking us. See, as we come seeking to listen and learn together from each other, from the heart of God, joining in the loving work of the God of justice and joy and peace. So to center our hearts in that today, we've got some friends who are going to lead us in our liturgy this morning. They'll be leading us in words that are simple, but they are profound. That wherever you are, wherever you find yourself on this day, in the heart of God and the love of this community, all are welcome here. So friends, let's lift this up together.
We come together to seek God, trusting that God is seeking us with open arms. All are welcome here.
No matter our doubts or questions, where we come from or who we love, even in the chaotic seasons of life, we are loved by God. All are welcome here.
We believe that everyone is a child of God, every age, race, gender, identity, ability, and creed. All are beautifully and colorfully made and of sacred worth. All are welcome here.
We affirm that God is a good God who lifts the oppressed, loves the vulnerable, and is open to all. So we choose to have open hearts, open minds, open arms, and open doors to God and to each other. All are welcome here.
Good morning, friends, and welcome to Open Worship this morning. We are so glad that you are gathered with us from your homes today. At this time, we'd like to invite you to pop on over to opendtx.com/sign-in. Even if you've done it before, this just helps us get a clearer picture of who all is here. If you are new here or haven't commented before, say hello in the comments. We would love to meet you. And now let's greet each other and let it be known that all are welcome here.
You
friends. My name is Crystal, and with me today I have my friends Brandon and Clay and Dave and Kelly, and we are your worship leaders this morning. We just want you to know that whoever you are, whatever your story or identity is, God's love is here for you, and so are we. Let's continue to worship together. As we've been on our journey toward being loved together, we've remembered how much God loves us and how we are called to love each other. If you're like me, it's hard to slow down, to reflect, and to find a moment to center myself on that love. Maybe it's been a minute since you've had the chance to really pause, clear your mind, and find yourself in the center of God's love for you and reflect it back to God. Let's do that together as we sing or listen to this song. We also invite you to share any prayer requests that you may have in the comments so that we can lift them up together in prayer.
Slow me down, oh Lord, slow me down. Help my heart to hear your sound. Speak into my life, Lord, speak now. Slow me down, oh Lord, slow
Hi, friends. It's good to be back with you today. So here's a question. How are you? How are you? It's a simple question, but it is not a simple answer right now. It's one of those big inhale answers, right? How are you? How are you doing? There's so much joy right now in vaccine rollouts and seeing real hope ahead. There's joy in the spring of red buds and grape hyacinths blooming. There's joy in March Madness for some of us, and for others of us, there's joy in not caring about March Madness one bit. Sweet peace for our souls, right? There are green shoots of joy, and it is wonderful. But there's also so much that's heavy. The loss that many of us carry personally through this season. To violence this last week against the Asian community, the ongoing work for racial justice, trans rights, for those on the front lines, education, nonprofits, especially in the healthcare community. The work has been so much and so heavy for so long. And for all of us in this time seeking to care for each other and to love our neighbor, as we've been talking about over the last few weeks, when we ask, how are you doing? We're doing a lot. And we're making it. You are making it. You are doing it with one foot in front of the other. And it's amazing, and it's empowered, and it is inspired. So but maybe instead of asking, how are you doing? Ask, how are you being? How are you being? How is it in your inmost being? And there in our being, we might need some breath or some peace, or at least a pint of Ben & Jerry's world peace, whatever it takes. Jesus had a lot to say about what we're doing, about what to do, and to live in a way of life that leads to peace and flourishing for all. Love, serve, seek, listen, be generous, stand up, reach out. It's a beautiful to-do list. But if it's just a to-do list, as important and critically necessary as action is, if all we find in the way of Jesus is work in a to-do list, we can just heap that to-do list that we can't quite do on top of the tiredness in our being. And then we just get tired plus guilty, which is where the Ben & Jerry's comes in, right? But in his time, Jesus flipped his script from merely doing. The culture around him said, you do the to-do list in order to be fulfilled, to be worthy, to be loved. But Jesus started in a different place. He said, before you work, you are already worthy. You are loved. Now love as you have been and are being loved. Our doing flows from our being. And that little shift of perspective changes everything. I want to say that again because this is so important. Jesus does not begin with our doing. He begins with our being, with you being loved. You are loved, he says. Now love as you have been loved. You are already loved. First and above all, you're a beloved child of God, beautifully and colorfully made of sacred worth. That is who you are, and you can simply be that. No to-do list required, because you belong. You are loved. But the magic really happens when our doing, our acts of love for one another flow from that being and belonging. And God's love for us becomes that dynamo that empowers our love. You can't pour from an empty cup, but you can pour and pour from a cup with a spring inside. It can overflow life. But sometimes, well, all the time, amidst all the doing, we can lose sight of that. We need some balance. And so sometimes we just need to slow down and be loved, be a child of God. As the Quaker author Parker Palmer writes, self-care is never a selfish act. It is simply good stewardship of the only gift we have, the gift I was put on earth to offer to others. Anytime we can listen to true self and give the care that it requires, we do it not only for ourselves, but for the many others whose lives we touch. There's a Jesus story that goes to the heart of this. It's the balance of being and doing, to the profound power of both and that begins with being and belonging. And it might even offer us some practical guidance along the way. But it was a story that I always struggled with because it was strange, which isn't saying much, I know, for a scripture story. But as someone wired for doing, it didn't quite sit right. But I think I've found a way in, and I want to share it with you. And so check out this story. We find it in our scripture library in the book of Luke, chapter 10. And Jesus goes to visit his friends, Mary and Martha, at their home. Martha welcomes him in, and her sister Mary sits at Jesus' feet and just spent time listening to what he was saying, which is really nice, right? But here's where the conflict comes in. In Luke chapter 10, verse 40, it says this: Martha was distracted by her many tasks, and so she came to him and asked, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her then to help me. And I've got to say, she has a point. Some of you are the roommate who does all the dishes, right? Bless you. You have my permission to fill a clean dish with Ben & Jerry's tonight and then wash it out after you're done, which you would do anyway, I'm sure. But this is where Jesus' response was so unexpected to Martha. It says, but the Lord answered her, that's Jesus, answered her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There's need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her. What's going on here? There goes my chance to ever use Jesus to get my kids to clean their rooms. Sorry, Dad, I'm choosing the better thing in this moment. What's up with this? What is Jesus doing here? Well, there's a lot to commend in this story about hospitality, about attention to others, about our mindfulness and being engaged in the present. But I don't think this story is presenting those good things as either or, but instead as both and, while telling us that where our heart rests, where it centers, where it begins, what is our most important thing matters. Begin with being belonging, being loved, listening, and then do, then act, then love. It is a way of balance that begins by recentering us on the source. But to see this in full, you got to go with me a little bit. We need a little bit of historical literary background in order to see this. So are you ready to get nerdy here? In the ancient Greek rhetorical styles that permeate the writings about Jesus, the form and the shape of a story, even the order in which different stories appear, were all part of the way that meaning was conveyed. In particular, there was this form that was considered beautiful in the day called a chiasm. That was named chi after the Greek letter X. And so it is a narrative and logical form that's shaped like an X that converges and then re-emerges, where the beginning mirrors the end in a meaningful way. These forms in those days were used everywhere. They were kind of like fancy Twitter meme formats that everyone followed. Please don't tell my Greek teacher that I use that example. But the author of the book of Luke, where we encounter this story, was a particularly skilled writer in the Greek rhetorical style and used structure in meaningful ways. And so look at the flow of stories that preceded Mary and Martha, like just here in Luke chapter 10. It's the stories that we've been reading and recentering around this Lent. They're stories of the great commandments. Love God, love neighbor, as you love yourself. And so the flow of this chapter begins in Luke chapter 10, verse 25, when a lawyer asks Jesus, what is the key to life? And according to Jesus, it is that you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your mind, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. First, love God, and just like it, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And then the lawyer asks, who is my neighbor? And as we encountered together a few weeks ago, Jesus responds with a story that answers that question with the Good Samaritan and tells us in an unexpected way what it looks like to love our neighbor as ourselves, how to do that, how to do loving your neighbor. But if we leave it there, Jesus never tells us how to fulfill the first part of that commandment, the beginning of it all, how to love God, how to do loving God. How do we love God with our heart and our mind and our soul and our strength, with all we are? How do we even begin that? Well, I think maybe the chiasm completes that. That in the Mary and Martha story, it answers that question of how we do that first thing, to love God, to be loved by God. Not by doing, working, striving, but simply by being. being ourselves, being our authentic, beloved by God selves in the present, in the presence, just as Mary was with Jesus who loved her, sitting with, listening, being still, being loved, and loving as best we can by being belonging and being beloved. And from that place, from that empowering center, that restoring, life-finding place, that love that is with you and within you always, by centering ourselves in a place where we can hear those words, you are loved. And as I have loved you, now love one another. It is, as Jesus says, a better place to begin our doing, a place that cannot be taken away, that is essential. And I think this might be what this story is trying to share. Do love your neighbor and love yourself, but begin by being loved and by seeking to love the God who calls you beloved. You are welcome, you belong, you are accepted, and let that being be the source of your doing. You're not earning anything, you're not proving your worth. You are worthy, you are beloved. That is what you are. And it is how you are with the God of the universe every moment. Richard Rohr says it this way: we cannot attain the presence of God because we're already in the presence of God. What's absent is awareness. And Jesus invites us to be aware of God's presence, to our belovedness, and to the presence of love that is with us always. So what do we do with that? Do we just wait until Jesus comes over and then stop folding laundry? I mean, if Jesus stops by your house, yes, you can stop doing laundry. But until then, I think we can learn from Mary and from other practices of seekers throughout the ages. Mary welcomed Jesus in, and for a time ceased from activity for a little while, drew near to the one who loved her, and delighted in her and listened. And she listened amidst the hubbub of the world and the work to be done. She listened for the things that endure, that are essential. And you can do that amidst the rhythm of this life and our doing as well. Jesus' Jewish tradition has a practice called Sabbath, a practice of ceasing, of drawing near, of delighting, of listening. It's more than just vegging with Netflix and a good podcast and some Ben & Jerry's. It's more than time off. Sabbath is time to be truly on, to center ourselves on the source. And sometimes it happens in stillness, sometimes it happens in delight, but it always invites us to draw near the center of the God who loves you. And so listen to the words of the great seeker, Rachel Held Evans. He says this: on the Sabbath, everything that is unessential bows to that which endures. On the Sabbath, one is not meant to do, but to be. To sit at the feet of that which endures and be with the one in whom we belong, to be loved. Now I know what you're thinking. Sure, Sabbath sounds nice, but I can't Sabbath. My schedule's too busy, my life is too full, there is too much doing. And that's the point. We can't, and so we must. Start somewhere with just a little bit. Take a Sabbath afternoon or a Sabbath hour or a Sabbath commercial break in your life. I mean, after you've buckled your kids in their car seats, just take Sabbath as you walk around the car to your side. Just start somewhere. But wherever you start, I want to give you 4 words to frame a moment to be like Mary and to be, even if you just use them as you walk around the car. Well, they come from a wise teacher named Marva Dawn. She wrote this little book called Keeping the Sabbath Holy. And she says this: this is what it takes to draw near like Mary for whatever duration you can to Sabbath. First word is this: cease. Just cease. Cease striving and doing for a little while. Cease trying to earn love. You are loved. Cease. But remember, these things are not laws, but they're gifts, a chance to be free in a life that says you aren't. And so for a time, if you have trouble ceasing, that's okay too. But seek to cease. In the midst of that, the second word is rest. Rest in the God who is with us. Be like Mary at Jesus' feet. Be still and know, as the psalmist says. Rest in what endures. And think about how cool it is that Sabbath time, intentional time to connect with God, is to be about rest, not work, about simply being, not doing. And that's simply beautiful when you think of it, that life with God begins in that rest and in our being. The third word is this: embrace. Embrace life. That's what we find at the center of the source, life and love itself. So embrace delight. Marvadon says, do things that delight you. Find a neighbor you can call, or you can be with a family or a friend. Embrace humanity. Embrace what endures. But most of all, in this time, find and embrace God's love for you. And when you do, you will find it has been embracing you all along. And finally, the fourth word, cease, rest, embrace, is this: feast, celebrate. This is and was a big part of Sabbath observance. Jews finish Sabbath with a glass of wine or juice and smell a sweet fragrance and celebrate, because this time is to be a foretaste of the world as it should be, a feast of life with enough and with celebration for all. And so embrace that joy amidst this journey. Embrace the stubborn gladness that is a resistance to everything that seeks to steal life right now. Celebrate what endures. There's so much heavy in this world that when we find something good in a life, we've got to celebrate it. We've got to celebrate the mess out of this life. And feel free to replace mess with whatever word you want to there. But we've got to celebrate in this journey. And so today, we've got two ways for you to do that. First, to help you in your ceasing and your resting and your embracing, we put together a YouTube playlist of songs from our whole church community here at First United Methodist Church of Denton. Choirs, the open band, many songs that were written right here in the open community. And you can find that playlist at fumcdenton.com/songs of love. We hope it helps you cease and rest and experience the embrace of God's love. And today, if you're watching on Sunday, we are celebrating. Today, from 4 to 5 p.m., we are feasting together with a BYO picnic, safely distanced and masked, in the courtyard at First United Methodist Church of Denton, here near the square. The open band will be there playing some fun pop tunes. The open community who are ready at this point to be there and we will be there. So you can bring a snack, you can bring a picnic with you, you can bring a chair, a blanket, and if you're ready at this point to get out distanced and masked outside, we can feast and we can celebrate love and life together and simply be. In this Martha world, a world that needs us to be at work for justice and joy and peace, for life in so many ways, we first have to find it. We need our merry time to find that life at the depth of our being, because you are loved first and above all. And then we're called to love as we have been loved. You are a beloved child of God, invited to rest and feast in the presence of love at the center of your being. Sarah Bessey says in her new book, A Rhythm of Prayer, she says that when we get to a crossroad in our faith, sometimes we mistakenly think that we only have two options: double down or burn it down. But Jesus shows us a different way: to lay it down, to settle down, to sit down wherever you are and simply be loved. To do what the great Howard Thurman calls centering down in the core of your being, the center of everything, in the God who is love and who loves you, in whom your whole being finds belonging, finds rest, finds embrace, and finds a feast of life. And so I want to leave you today with a poem written by that great Howard Thurman, the great philosopher, pastor, civil rights leader, a longtime dean of Howard University, Howard Thurman, who was mentor to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. He knew about work, he knew about weariness, but he also knew the empowerment that Mary found, centering down on that which endures. And so this poem is called How good it is to center down. Listen to it with me. How good it is to center down, to sit quietly and see oneself pass by. The streets of our minds seethe with endless traffic. Our spirits resound with clashing and noisy silences, while something deep within hungers and thirsts for the still moment and the resting lull. With full intensity we seek, ere thicket passes, a fresh sense of order in our living, a direction, a strong, sure purpose that will structure our confusion and bring meaning in our chaos. We look at ourselves in this waiting moment, the kinds of people we are. The questions persists. What are we doing with our lives? What are the motives that order our days? What is the end of our doings? Where are we trying to go? Where do we put the emphasis? And where are our values focused? For what end do we make sacrifices? Where is my treasure? And what do I love most in life? What do I hate most in life? And to what am I true? Over and over, the questions beat upon the waiting moment. As we listen, floating up through all the jangling echoes of our turbulence, there is a sound of another kind, a deeper note which only the stillness of heart makes clear. It moves directly to the core of our being. Our questions are answered, our spirits refreshed, and we move back into the traffic of our daily round, with the peace of the eternal in our step. How good it is to center down. How good it is, friends. May you rest in the love of God with you always, empowering your doing and bringing life to the depth of your being. May we center down, ceasing, resting, embracing, and celebrating, and being celebrated by the God who is love and who loves you. Amen, friends. Amen.
Our
Hey church family, my name is Crystal and I'd like to share some upcoming opportunities to connect here at the church. We hope you're participating in the Neighborhood Mission Corner this month. If you aren't yet or haven't heard, visit fumcdenton.com/neighbor to check it out. Next Sunday, March 28th is Palm Sunday and the beginning of Holy Week. Kids of all ages are invited to participate in Palm Sunday by submitting videos waving branches of any kind that you may have at home. Visit fumcdenton.com/Easter to learn more about how to participate. Also on that day, our church is offering a community drive-through egg hunt and socially distanced photos with the Easter Bunny. Swing by the Mulberry side of the church on March 28th anytime between 1 and 4 p.m. for a drive around searching for eggs from your car. It'll be a fun scavenger hunt for kids and families, and then at the end of your journey, return to the main parking lot for a goodie bag with filled eggs and that opportunity for the Easter Bunny. We're very much looking forward to it. You can find more details about this and all of our Holy Week services at fumcdenton.com/Easter.
Friends, thank you for joining with us today. As we sang together, there is a place you belong, where you are fully loved. And I hope this week that whisper finds you, that you remember, and that love empowers you to be your brave, authentic self, loving as you've been loved. There's a way to stay connected to God and to each other in this time, something that our team has prepared called our Lenten Guide. And there's meditations and prayers around this topic, around God's love for you and around our call to love courageously. At fumcdenton.com/stories, you can check out our Lenten Guide. That's a daily devotional guide for us in this season. You can check it out. And thank you to Crystal and our team for their amazing work in that. We do all this together, and one way to do that is through groups. It can be a great way to experience and find opportunities to connect together. You can find those at opendtx.com/groups and try something new this season. So thank you so much for being in this together, for supporting this place of sacred belonging with your presence and your prayers, with your generosity. To support this mission and this work, you can go to opendtx.com/give to be a part of it together. And finally, visit opendtx.com/sign-in to let us know that you're with us. And no matter when you watch, it's helpful for us to know that you're here and to stay connected with each other. And so now, friends, as you go into the world this week, take these words of benediction with you as you go. Friends, you belong, and you are loved in the depth of your being. And so may we begin there, being loved, and let it flow out in our doing. May you find space for Sabbath, for centering down in the depths of the God who equips, empowers, and knits us all together so that we may be love and do love everywhere we are. You are so loved, friends. So love as you've been loved together. Go in grace, go in peace, and go in the love of God always. Amen.